After dating for 4 years, I, 32F, tied the knot 8 months ago. Aside from my sister Malene, 30F, and my parents, all the guests showed up for the ceremony. My parents choosing to boycott the occasion was shocking, though I wasn't entirely surprised by my sister's no-show since we've never truly been close. Looking back at our history, though, I probably should have seen it coming. Let me provide some context about our household dynamics. I don't fully hold my parents responsible for always preferring my sister. From a very young age, she excelled at nearly everything. The moment she started walking, she commanded attention in any space she entered. In elementary school, she dominated every spelling competition, science exhibition, and performance contest. High school followed suit with her becoming student council leader, top of her class speaker, and homecoming royalty. Tall, slim, and strikingly beautiful, she dabbled in modeling during university before shifting focus to her business studies. Her initial modeling gig came in her second year of college, and the memory is still vivid. My parents threw an extravagant gathering with extended relatives and her circle of friends to mark the milestone. They framed her debut professional portrait and displayed it prominently in our family room, where it hangs to this day right over the mantel. That very same year I earned my computer science diploma. Their reaction was a casual "good job," before they shifted back to arranging Malene's upcoming shoot. Right after graduation, she secured a position at a major firm and rapidly advanced in her career. At just 30, she's now a high-level manager with a spacious office and a company vehicle. Meanwhile, I hold a solid role as a mid-tier software engineer at a reliable tech firm. I'm content with my career and it's a respectable field, but it's not the kind that prompts parents to brag extensively at gatherings. Plus, physically, I'm curvier and shorter compared to my sister. Growing up, my mother frequently made harsh comments about my looks, enrolled me in fitness programs I had no interest in, and enforced strict eating plans. She'd remark things like, "Malene doesn't have to worry about her figure," or, "With a bit more discipline, you could be as attractive as your sister." By high school, I trained myself to brush off those statements, but they still left marks. Eventually, I came to accept our differences. I reconciled with the reality that my parents derived far more joy from Malene's triumphs than from mine. What choice did I have? For years, I sought their praise by taking the courses they suggested, participating in activities they pushed, and even briefly trying modeling. A misstep my sister still teases me about. Yet it was never enough. I was simply the younger daughter, while they were utterly captivated by her successes. Around my mid-20s, I stopped trying to win them over. I shifted my energy to building my independent path, advancing in my career on my own merits, and cultivating relationships with people who valued me authentically. Honestly, life got better after that. Aware of how much my parents prioritized outward impressions, I maintained surface-level contact to avoid tension. At obligatory holiday dinners and occasional reunions, I'd smile and nod as they gushed over Malene's latest promotion, partner, or trip. With her to adore, they barely registered my growing detachment. Then, at a tech conference, a shared contact introduced me to my now husband. He truly saw me in a way my family never did. From the start, he appreciated my sarcastic wit, my programming skills, and even my physique. He never suggested I alter myself or drew comparisons to anyone else. After 4 years together, he popped the question during a quiet evening at home, with delivery food and our go-to show playing softly. It was perfect. Of course, I shared the engagement news with my parents last year. Their initial reaction should have been a red flag. Silence instead of excitement. My mother then asked if I was sure about rushing into it and suggested getting in better shape beforehand. My father stayed mostly quiet. At the engagement gathering, my husband picked up on their strange vibe, which I was too nervous to process fully then. They spent much of the night huddled over my mom's phone in a quiet spot. Later, my husband mentioned overhearing them consoling Malene on a call. She was upset. He caught fragments like, "This wasn't supposed to happen," and that they hadn't anticipated me marrying before her. Wedding preparations had a few hurdles. My mother, who'd long curated Pinterest ideas for Malene's future event despite her not being engaged, showed zero enthusiasm for helping with mine, No input on venues or gowns. When I chose my dress, a simple but elegant A-line that made me feel stunning. She just called it sensible and fitting for my build. My future mother-in-law stepped in wonderfully, treating me like her own daughter, and we handled most details together. I meticulously checked the invite list with my partner to ensure accuracy, sending both digital and mailed versions. I'm positive my parents got theirs. The online ones showed read confirmations. When they didn't respond to the RSVP, I followed up via calls, messages, and emails. Responses were dodged or vague, citing busy calendars. With so much else on my plate, I couldn't dwell on it too much. My in-laws were amazing, pitching in on everything from table assignments to decorations. At the wonderful bridal shower thrown by my husband's sister, no one mentioned my family's glaring absence. Despite that, the actual wedding day was magical. We had a relaxed garden venue with a morning ceremony followed by an afternoon reception. Guests commented on how happily in love we appeared, and they were spot on. Still, moments stung deeply, like spotting the empty reserved seats up front or skipping the father-daughter dance altogether. Post-honeymoon, I pressed for explanations. They claimed deep offense, insisting no proper invite arrived. My mother ranted about my thoughtlessness, how she dreamed of planning her daughter's weddings, and couldn't fathom being excluded from such a milestone. This confused me as I knew we'd sent invitations both ways. I even confirmed records during the conversation, including tracked mail delivery. I chose not to call out their obvious manipulation. Instead, I apologized for the supposed mix-up and ended the call. Afterward, my husband pointed out several signs of their real motives, like their shocked rather than thrilled response to our engagement news, or their endless excuses to avoid helping plan. He'd held back earlier to spare my stress, but hindsight made the intentions obvious. The notion of me, their less accomplished child, marrying ahead of their prized Malene was intolerable to them. Their actions only confirmed what I'd long suspected but denied. I'd never match up to her in their view. The saddest part was realizing my wedding, a day meant for joy and new beginnings, became another battleground in their quest to uphold their perfect family facade, centered on Malene. Recently, relatives told me Malene got engaged to her boyfriend of 1 year. In group chats I'm not part of, my parents are openly thrilled about planning her grand affair. They're already touting booked premium venues and designer dresses, with my mom escorting her to exclusive boutique appointments. All those special mother-daughter moments I was denied. Interestingly, many extended family members are now declining invites to her engagement events and wedding. Word of my parents' treatment at my ceremony has spread through the relatives. When asked why my parents missed my big day, I simply share my honest view. They couldn't handle me marrying before their favorite daughter. I stick to the truth as I see it, no exaggeration or plea for pity. A few days ago, my parents contacted me, claiming I was deliberately sabotaging Malene's celebrations. They say invited guests are making excuses to skip her events. My cousin, whom Malene confided in, relayed that folks are hesitant due to stories about how my parents treated me. They accuse me of fabricating lies out of jealousy over her upcoming extravagant wedding. But I'm only sharing what actually occurred. If the facts paint them poorly, maybe they should reflect on their actions rather than fault me for the fallout. With developments unfolding, maintaining even a facade of connection with my parents is growing tougher. Their conduct around my wedding crystallized that I'd never be enough for them, no matter what. The hardest part now isn't their absence that day. It's accepting I never had the warm, supportive parents I'd longed for. I'm focusing on building a fulfilling life with a partner who truly cherishes me as I am, and I'll share updates if major shifts happen. First update. Since my previous post 2 weeks back, much has unfolded. Encouraged by supportive comments, I decided to confront my parents directly about their wedding boycott and accusations of ruining Malene's moment. As they messaged about our damaged family reputation, I knew it was time to lay it all out. The call quickly turned accusatory. They insisted I was bitter toward Malene and orchestrated everything. For once, instead of justifying myself, I did something different. I concurred, but on my terms. I told them, yes, you're right. I am jealous. Not of Malene's job, achievements, or looks. I'm jealous of the constant affection and backing you've given her, without ever trying to extend the same to me." Silence followed on the line. My mother then protested I was over-dramatizing, claiming equal treatment always. In that instant, something snapped within me. Long-buried emotions surged forth. I recounted every birthday overshadowed by Malene's latest win. How my mom scrapped my graduation celebration dinner for Malene's modeling audition. How her prom dress budget exceeded my entire year's college books. I pressed on even as my father interrupted, labeling it exaggeration. I described watching them curate dream weddings for her imaginary future while ignoring mine. I shared the ache of empty parental seats and relying on my mother-in-law for planning, dress shopping, everything. Their response was telling. Instead of owning any part, they turned it back on me. My mother demanded why I'd never voiced this before, as though I hadn't tried repeatedly over years. My father added that sharing these feelings with relatives was cruel and vindictive. Then my mother dropped the line that crystallized it all. "We'd always sensed your insecurity over her successes, but never thought you'd stoop to sabotaging Malene's wedding from resentment. That's not the values we instilled." It hit me they couldn't truly listen. They saw no link between their actions and my pain. It all circled back to protecting Malene. Even in a conversation about skipping my wedding, their priority was her upcoming one over my wounds. For the first time, I didn't try to smooth things over. No backtracking or apologies from me. Instead, I stated plainly, "You're right about one thing. You raised me to feel I'd never be good enough. That her wins would always overshadow mine. That preserving your flawless family portrait mattered more than my heart. But unintentionally, you also showed me I merit more than this." A lengthy silence ensued before my father responded. In a calm, detached voice. "Perhaps we should stop pretending to be awful parents when you've already decided we are, and seem to enjoy our discomfort. As family, we expected you'd help fix this, but you've chosen otherwise." My mother delivered the final sting. "We always aimed for fairness, but maybe you just couldn't handle sharing the spotlight. That's on you, Rebecca, not us. You chose to embrace victimhood." I didn't debate. What was the point? Their words had just affirmed everything I'd expressed. They couldn't acknowledge any role, even in this final exchange. I simply said farewell and disconnected. Surprisingly, relief washed over me afterward. Yes, tears came, but not the desperate, soul-crushing kind from younger days. These were cleansing. I'd finally voiced it all unfiltered, without shame over my valid feelings. That evening, my husband found me watching the sunset from our deck. He joined silently, holding my hand. After a while, I asked, "They're never going to change, right?" "No," he replied, tightening his grip. "But you have. That's what matters." He's absolutely right. I've evolved. The desperate girl chasing parental approval is gone. The woman emerging from that talk doesn't require their endorsement anymore. Accepting they'll never become the parents I needed hurts, but far less than clinging to false hope. For once, Malene's wedding drama or family fallout doesn't consume me. I've spoken my truth. They handle the consequences now. The strangest part? Feels like a lifelong weight has vanished. Not the fairy tale reconciliation I'd once wished for, but maybe the closure I truly required, freedom from chasing affection that should have been unconditional. / second update. It's been 3 days since the confrontation with my parents, and events have shifted unexpectedly. Malene chose to insert herself into the conflict, but it backfired spectacularly. Yesterday morning, my sister sent me a carefully worded text. Her patronizing style, honed over years, shone through clearly, declaring my words to our parents utterly unacceptable. They've supported us at every turn and provided abundantly. You can't just accuse them of bad parenting because you're uneasy with your life choices. She layered in her usual mix of self-righteousness and subtle digs. I get that your ceremony fell short of dreams, but that's no reason to wreck mine. It's fine to desire an event celebrating those who've worked hard for high standards. Not everything has to be a rivalry, Rebecca. I opted not to reply. From years enduring her controlling tactics, I've learned engagement only arms her further. So I blocked her contact. Malene isn't one to tolerate silence, and I figured that closed it. Hours later, my husband rang me at work, barely able to talk from laughter. Unable to reach me, Malene had dug up his number, likely through a mutual contact, and bombarded him with messages detailing exactly why our sibling bond has always faltered. Her opening to him started politely enough. As Rebecca's sibling and one concerned for our family's harmony, I must speak up, but it quickly revealed her true intent. She told him, as the key man in my life now, he should guide me toward better behavior. The texts grew more condescending. She explained family intricacies to him, a seasoned software architect with an MBA, suggesting someone of my emotional nature might miss the full context. She urged him to help me gain perspective before permanently damaging ties. The highlight was her bid to appeal to presumed ambition. Actually, she typed, "You must see that nurturing ties with accomplished relatives like me could advantage your career. My actions only undermine my future, and yours by association." My husband, long wise to Malene's games, found her maneuvering hilarious. He especially enjoyed her assumption that her status or connections would sway him. As he put it, "She truly has no clue about me, huh?" That night, we reviewed the exchanges together at home. Rather than anger or hurt, I laughed alongside him. Watching her schemes laid bare, especially against someone completely unaffected, was empowering. This incident revealed a key insight about my sister. Beneath her polished successes, she's still the unsure teen who builds herself up by diminishing others. Her shallow grasp of healthy bonds is evident in thinking she'd sway me via my partner. Most telling, when direct contact failed, she immediately pivoted to turning him against me. A classic old move.